Dice Heist. Dice Heist is a small game by AEG, one of these games that come in these small boxes. And this line of games, really the only thing that they have in common is the format of the box. There can be anything and everything in it. Different mechanics, themes. You may have a deck builder like Valley of the Kings. You may have a simple, elegant, minimalistic game like Love Letter, dexterity games like Maximum Throwdown, a parody of Twilight Struggle, Twilight Squabble, and now we also have a dice game. I haven't played all the games in this family, but as far as I know, this should be the first dice game in the line. It's a simple, small, portable, push your luck style of game. The topic is well, stealing masterpieces from world museums. The players are thieves that really enjoy art, but they don't like to go to museums where too many people are around, so they go at night, and when they see something they really like, they take it away. So in this game, you will use dice mechanics, and especially a push your luck idea, to try to collect works of art and artifacts from the most famous museums around the world. Let me show you how it works. The game comes with 4 cards representing the 4 museums that the players will visit in the pursuit of their nefarious intents. You have a deck of cards representing the artifacts and the works of art that the players intend to steal. And you have a supply of dice, white and black dice. Each player receives a black die at the beginning of the game. This represents the player, him or herself. The white dice are placed in a general supply, and they represent accomplices that the players may gain during the game. When it is your turn, first you always flip a card from this deck face up, and then you simply match it with the corresponding museum. We see this icon here, so we know this goes to the Hermitage, this goes to the Metropolitan, this one goes to the Hermitage again, British Museum, and so on and so forth. So after a couple of turns, the museums will have, as you can see, sets of cards sitting there. Hey, nothing for the Louvre, apparently. Come on, let's put one for the Louvre. Don't be sad, Louvre. We like you. Some of these cards have the symbol here with a plus. When you have the plus, then you simply draw another card and you place it normally. So after a while, as you can see, you have a situation such as this one, with some museums having more cards, some museums fewer cards, and so on and so forth. So that is the first part of your turn. Flip a card, draw a card from this deck and place it in the corresponding museum. Then you get to take your one choice during the turn. Yes, you only have one choice per turn, but it is an important one. You can choose to hire an accomplice, so you simply add a white die to your pool. That is it. That's for your turn. Or you may choose to attempt a heist, and suppose I'm doing so after a couple of turns, so I have a couple of accomplices together with my basic die. I decide to attempt a heist. When you do so, you select one of the museums, suppose this one, then you roll your black die plus any number of your accomplices that you decide to bring with you in the mission. You do not have to spend all of them. You don't have to spend any of them, actually. And suppose I decide to bring one and I keep the other 2 in my personal supply. Then you roll the 2 dice, and the heist is successful if at least one of the numbers that you roll is higher than the number that is on the card of the museum. So higher than 2 for the Hermitage, higher than 3 for the Met, and so on and so forth. If you're successful, you grab the cards that are there, and you add them to your victory. You place them in your player area, and you will score them at the end of the game. If you are successful, you also return all of the accomplices that you use to the general supply in the game. If you are not successful, then you keep the accomplices that you used and you put them back in your personal supply. And you can use them again next time. There is a variant in the game which I very much recommend. There's an advanced variant, but the game is so simple that I don't see any problem with using the variant to start with. The variant is that you can choose, instead of going for the entire loot for every work of art which is available in a museum, to target a specific card. Suppose that, for reasons I will explain later, I really want this gem here because I need it to complete complete a set that will help me to score at the end of the game. So I just want that card. When you're targeting a single card, you select the museum, you indicate the card, and then you roll normally, but you get to grab the cards if you roll equal to or higher than the target number. So higher, you grab everything, equal or higher, you grab only a card, but you need to commit to targeting a single card before you roll. This is the game in essence. The game continues until all cards have been taken out of this basic deck and assigned to players, so until everything has been stolen by the players. At that point you score points, and the rulebook explains scoring very well, so we can use this as a player, right? Artifacts, which are these cards here. Artifacts simply score a point for each artifact shown on your artifact card. Some artifact cards show 2 artifacts, such as this one. Some other ones show a single one, such as this one. That simply is a point per artifact. Gems, you sort your gems by color, like in this example here. The first gem of each color is worth a point, the second 2, the third 3, and so on and so forth. So sets of gems of the same color are much more valuable than a hodgepodge of different gems. Paintings, super tricky. You add up the total value of all of your paintings. So you see the value is here. And at that point, the player that has the highest scores 4 points. The player with the lowest loses 4 points. So +8 or -4. And if they're tied, they both get the full positive or the full reward or the full penalty. Player with the most total points is the winner of the game. Now, just recently I reviewed another push your luck dice game, Spookies, which is mainly for kids. And as I said in the conclusions of that video, this is a game that may be a little too light for adults. Dice Heist, to me, actually is a game that is probably lighter than this game in terms of list of execution, because it moves faster. But at the same time, it's more attractive to me as an adult. I think this is a game that would work with adults. Yes, it is still extremely simple and linear, but the set collection element and the possibility of playing with targeted targets with specific targets rather than going for the whole thing or choosing to pass. These 3 choices are so simple, but there are a lot of interesting decisions to be made. Again, nothing heavy, but entertaining enough. Decisions that are entertaining enough and that have to do with timing. Are you waiting until next turn to grab more dice to go for a certain object, but by then the opponents may have emptied the museum that you wanted to, or where you wanted to steal stuff? Maybe there is a specific element that you really need to complete a set and that would be disproportionately useful for you, and then you decide to risk. Or you did pass, you did grab a die hoping to go for the specific target, and the opponent see that there is a target that is super important to you, and maybe they will decide to go in even though they may be not entirely ready. Because of the set collection, because of, I would say, the fluctuation of the victory conditions, meaning that certain cards will be important, will be relevant only in certain combinations, depending on what other players have done. Because of this, there are reasons of interest that transcend the simple 3-element choice. Get a die, try to empty the museum, try to get a single card. There is an interaction, there is a fluctuation of elements here that keeps me interested, keeps me attentive, keeps me interested in the game. I constantly want to see what happens and what everybody's doing. At the same time, I don't have to worry about too many strategies, too many things to consider. It is a game that is very light, but it is also interesting that I have enough decisions to keep me interested while it remains a simple filler. I like it very much, actually, when it comes to push your luck type of die rolls, push your luck type of games. This is one that I enjoy very much. I would say that I find it disproportionately entertaining, disproportionate to what the game is. So simple, so linear, so basic. and yet it manages to raise a level of interest that in a sense I did not expect. I've been pleasantly surprised by this design. The art is very pleasant, is also very nice. The game is super portable. This may just end up being one of those fillers that I put in my bag, in my game bag when I go somewhere. Those fillers that I always have with me, or almost always have with me at game events, because you never know what's gonna happen at game events. People show up late. People have to leave early, and you still have 20 minutes before your curfew happens. So you still want to play something. I usually have a selection of fillers with me. This is gonna go with them. This is definitely gonna be there on the top 10 of my fillers, because it is so simple and yet so entertaining, so amusing. You had these crazy moments due to the roll of the dice, which is one of the things that is fun in dice games. So sometimes you win a roll when you do not deserve it because it's crazy you did that thing, and yet the gods of the dice still smile upon you. And some of the times the gods of the dice are like, you're not gonna get this, no matter how smart you are and how well you played this, you're not gonna get it. And there's always laughter and there's always cheer on the table around this type of games. But when luck is something that affects everybody equally, in a certain sense there's also an equalizing factor. You roll dice so many times in the game that sometimes you'll be helped by the dice, sometimes the dice will hate you, and so things will end up balancing themselves. As long as you don't take it too serious, you don't ask it to be more than a simple filler where you roll dice, laugh, and you still give some thinking to what everybody's doing and to the stacks that you're trying to collect, Dice Heist is definitely a good game. One that surprised me, one that I'm happy to add to my collection in general and to my selection of fillers. Definitely one of my 2-goal fillers from now on. Dice Heist from AEG Games. Surprisingly good, surprisingly fun.